What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 32 of Beyond the Finish Line, a running podcast that dives deep into the stories that transcend far beyond the distance. I am your host, Joe Hardin. I am a passionate trail runner myself. Whether you're an elite, a back of the pack grinder, or somewhere in between, this is your space to learn, grow, and get inspired. Um, Today we have my friend. I'm really stoked to have Ory on. I've gotten to know Ory lately on Instagram, and we've had some really phenomenal chats. Let me give a little intro to Ory. But before I do that, real quick, everybody, friends of the pod, do me and all my friends at the APN a huge solid. Like, share, rate, review the podcast. We cannot do this without your support. We have to keep the lights on. So all these shares, rates, and reviews go a long way for us. And also something that I really have been enjoying lately is comments on Spotify. I think it's like so cool to see the conversation kind of unpack further on that platform through those comments. It's been really cool getting feedback from listeners. And if you feel so inclined, give me a 5-star review. If you don't want to give me a 5-star review, slide in my DMs and tell me why you don't want to. I love to hear all feedback, constructive in any way. So Ory's here. I'm really stoked to have Ory. Ory's an ultra runner, an ice climber, which is like that's kind of blowing me away. I would really like to unpack that further with Ory during this episode. A podcast host, one of my favorite trail running podcasts, Trailing Off Podcast. It's I just love how like genuine this podcast is. They've had some really great episodes, and I really enjoyed digging into those. Ory recently completed 100 miles at 6 days in the Dome, which is something I've been fascinated. Like, this is something that truly fascinates me. And a big congratulations to Ory. Ory just knocked out 100 miles at the Badger 100, which is really, really, really awesome. I can't wait to unpack that journey more with them. So without further ado, let's bring Ory forward and let's have this great chat with Ory.
Howdy.
What's up, Ory? How's it going?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so I'm really excited
nice to
have you
finally
on.
chat in real time.
We've been talking for a while. Yeah, chat in real time. We've chatted through DM and text quite a bit, and I was a big fan of trailing. I'm a big fan of Trailing Off podcast, so it's been cool. Like you, like through social media. I hope we've been in the Midwest. It's kind of a bummer I couldn't sneak up to Badger this last weekend and maybe see in real life, but. So we'll have to make that happen. We'll have to meet on the trail somewhere sometime soon down the road.
Yeah, and I would totally make it to your
so
race.
Like I do with everybody.
Oh yeah, that's just in the middle of the rut in the Javelina. So I won't be able to make it out to Indiana, unfortunately.
That's a bummer. Hopefully we'll if everything goes well, we'll do maybe I can try to come up next year. We'll see how it goes. It's been I've heard someone tell me like race directing is like while your shirt is on fire, and that has certainly been true for the last couple of weeks for getting this together. But
well, that's confidence inspiring for me wanting to do the same thing.
So all of that stuff aside, in your intro, tell us like who is Ory, like outside of running, like who is Ory Frazier?
Oh, outside of running. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just someone who tries to lead and live with a lot of authenticity, and just trying to live a good life that's always at choice and never in obligation. Queer, non-binary, and a runner, and I always tell people that the runner was the hardest part to come out as of those three. Yeah, ice climber, adventurer, I don't know.
Yeah, all the things, right? Cool.
Yeah.
So you touched on something, running. So I'm curious if you want to maybe like run us through your running journey, sort of unpack that for us. How'd you get into it?
Sure. Yeah. I don't think I've really talked like in full about my running journey on maybe a little bit on my podcast, but not really on other people's podcasts. But kind of in short, like in like 2019 or so, started just running for exercise. I was married at the time, and just like we weren't doing well. I was really struggling through those runs, a lot of just like self-doubt and like self-esteem issues and everything like that. Running 2 miles was just like torture. And then I don't know when it happened, but sort of as divorce started approaching, um, or just like was on the horizon, I started doing a little bit more just running to get out and like clear my head. And it wasn't until I sort of like, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go run a route and like see how long that is. And like go out and like, okay, ooh, new PR, like 4 miles. Like I actually ran the whole thing, got rain down. It was wonderful. Loved it. And then when we separated and I moved out, running was just like, and during COVID, one of those things I could just spend a lot of time doing and felt really good to be like moving my body and like feeling more confident about myself. Joined a run club from a invited by a friend, and pretty quickly like just went and did like a half marathon uh at the woods by myself. Was like, oh, okay, like I can do this. So then I went from the 2021 Chicago half marathon. 2022 I did 2 marathons, and then 2023 was like PR Chicago Marathon. 6 days later, do a last stop standing backyard ultra and crank out like 12 hours, 50 miles there. So that was sort of my first ultra. Um, and then, still live with the foot pain from from that to this day. Uh, and then, yeah, the next year kind of went in and attempted the 100 miler and DNF'd at 100K, did a 50K. And then this year has been kind of my big year of actually, you know, I guess committing more to these bigger races and actually, getting into it.
Yeah, yeah. Seems like you've been on a pretty good like stride lately, so that's been pretty fun to see. I guess following like vicariously through social media, seeing you knock out like 6 days and then Badger. That buckle is really cool, by the way. I saw
The
that picture
Badger
you sent. I was
buckle.
like, yeah, that buckle is
Yeah.
fantastic. So
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah,
I
here for the people on audio or not
oh
video.
yeah. I guess for anybody that
That's
can't see, it's
over
beautiful.
30
It's
hour.
beautiful. That is awesome. Yeah, I saw a few of like the 10 junk miles posts. It was like one was looked like you were like sleeping on a couch with like a foil blanket. And so
Yeah, yeah. That was that's the race is basically like you do a 50K and then you do an out and back of 8 miles, and then you do the 50K back to where you started and then the 50K back to the finish line. So that where I was on the couch was kind of like the starting line slash also mile 70. And like once I heard that there was going to be a couch there, I was like, okay, like no dirt naps, like no naps on a tarp or whatever for me. Like I'm getting to that couch. And I was kind of funny because there's another guy, Ben Mullen, who was on the couch when I got there, and like he was like still trying to warm up, and I'm like, oh yeah, like you should, get back out there and get going, and I'm trying to like kind of shoo him off the couch so I could fully lie down on it. Yeah,
oh wow, yeah, I
it
was
was
like,
the
wow, that looks
shortest
super
and
cool.
longest
What
30
beats
minute nap I've ever taken.
it beats like having to sleep on a picnic table or like the ground or something. That's
Oh
so
yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah,
Ben's
which
pretty.
I would have done for
I,
sure.
yeah, yeah, Ben's a pretty rad person. I met Ben at Jackson County with Oscar actually, so it's pretty cool getting to know
Okay, yeah.
Ben. So how are you feeling after Badger?
Um, it's been a progression this week. I was real rough state earlier in the week. Now I'm kind of back to, not back to, but most of my feet and legs are moving as they should. Still have a little bit of like swelling in my right ankle, so that's the like one thing I'm monitoring, and I might just have to like go on a run this weekend and see how it moves. Um, and then otherwise just feel just so like depleted still this week. This whole week it's almost like I don't know if I got sick too, but it feels like being sick on top of that, which is not how I felt after
Oh,
um the dome, which is kind of
6
crazy.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
I
wonder
only
if
did
like
the
being out in the
48
elements that
hours
long kind
and
of gets to you.
yeah, and I took a lot of naps during the dome, so I think I probably just didn't push very hard there.
Yeah. Yeah, I always kind of feel like kind of crappy and like kind of foggy usually after ultras, at least for a few days. But it always
Yeah.
feels nice to kind of knock out, like kind of like a shakeout, like get it all out of your legs after you feel better, anyways. But
Yeah, yeah.
well, cool. So yeah, back up to 6 days because that had me like that was like another race. I wish I would have like so far. I wish I would have signed up for both of these things, but certainly I feel like I missed out big time on Badger, but um, if you could like walk us through the event you did at 6 days. You did the 48 hour, but you covered 100
Mhm.
miles there, which is pretty cool. Yeah, maybe just
Yeah.
unpack that for us.
Yeah, it was an interesting one for me. I wanted to make that my like first attempt of the year at 100 just because I felt like given 48 hours and indoors and everything like that that there's no reason I shouldn't unless I get injured. Which is like you can't prevent getting injured. That'll happen. Um so I really wasn't too concerned whether or not I could make it. And a lot of my friends are like, I can't believe you're willing to, do 100 miles on a track. Like, that sounds terrible. For me, I don't mind it. Like, I can just like zone, like, even when I'm on the trail, like, I'm just like, I'm looking in front of me. I don't care what's around me right now. Like, it's just all background scenery. Um, what really I struggled with in the dome was that you actually have too much comfort. Like when you're on a trail run, you know that you have 5, 6, 7 miles between aid stations. So aside from like maybe standing there or maybe sitting on like a random bench here or there, like you're not really taking many breaks unless it's at those aid stations. At the dome, you have an aid station that you set up every quarter mile. So you have your chair, you have a cot, you have drinks and food and everything that you like. So I would just get a little bit. I went into it, like the normal sleep deprived that you do for any race, because I can't figure that out. Um,
Who
so
can,
like
right?
every time yeah, I would do like I would do like 2 miles and then be like, well, I think I'll take a little break now because I'm tired. So that just like ate into my time so much of just like all these little breaks and like trying to sleep. And I was there in the middle of the night and it's like 3 a.m. and I thought there was supposed to be quiet hours, but turns out quiet hours is just quieter hours. It's not like silent hours. And I just hear like Eiffel 65, I'm blue abadiba da die playing as I'm trying to take a nap. And so my blood's boiling because it's like, I don't want to hear this right now. But yeah, so I got to the 100. I took a long nap and I was like, okay, I could go out. I I I potentially could have won it. But I just like the comfort and sort of this like mind game that it all just like took away from me being able to just get out there and do it. So it's like I need to figure out how to struggle better in comfort rather than like struggle in a normal trail race. It was a wild experience.
Yeah, like because I so history with 100 milers is
Mhm.
not good. Things like, I've done some like 24-hour stuff and things like that. It's like a format that I'm really curious about because I think you've kind of mentioned this. It's just like kind of nice to know you can cover that distance.
Mhm.
I can, but also I feel like having the comfort right
Mhm.
there, kind of like what you touched on, it might be harder to over.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like trying to do like a standard 100 miler because like you're like are like backyards and I car and
Hmm.
it's like so hard to not so easy to quit at those.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I just, that that song would
Yeah.
be pretty too. But that's cool.
Yeah. Well, you can still do Across the Years in Arizona this year. Across the Years is
Yeah,
sorry, I didn't catch that.
sorry. Sorry about that. So tell me about your setup at the 48 hour. Did you have like yeah, my internet. Tell me about your setup at the dome, like your own tent and stuff set up.
Not a tent. I just
Like
got like a standard like REI cot, like a bed. Um, but also I even had like I have those fancy compression like Normatec boot type sleeves. They're not Normatec brand, but so you know, in the middle of the night, I'd also just throw those on, which I think also just really helped to like make it easier miles on my feet because you get to rest them a little bit better there. Yeah, and then just I had a plug-in fridge, cooler, and full of drinks, and too much comfort.
was the outside of that, what do you think was like an hour?
Yeah, internet's real choppy.
Yeah. Like, can you
A little bit, but it's still kind of choppy or pretty choppy. Yeah.
my internet is being kind of crappy. Okay. Well, if you can hear me, Ori, let's that was just go through that. And hopefully my
Yeah,
internet will behave.
yeah. This is my second attempt at Badger. That was what I DNF'd last year. And I guess just like from that same perspective of like comfort versus ease, last year the DNF was really largely just I was running great with a friend all the way through 50 miles um with Lauren Duncan and then she needed like a longer break at 50, so I was like, okay, well I'm just going to like try to get ahead here cuz I started getting nervous that I wasn't, going to make cutoffs or whatever. I just felt okay to keep going. But then now I'm out alone and it starts getting dark. And now I'm starting to get in my head of like, oh, like I'm out here alone. Like there's, 3 miles in each direction to an aid station. Like, what if I fall? What if I pass out? All these things. And all that just like was an uncomfortable place to be, like physically and mentally. So that by the time I got to like the 100K mark, tried to lie down to just take a rest, started shivering, and kind of just at that point was like, okay, I've had enough of this. Had I just taken a good nap and had some friends to go with, I'm sure I could have finished that day, but I just got in my head about it. So this year, that's why I went into it really just like, let's solve those problems and not make that an issue again. I ran with my friend Chelsea Betts from the start, and then we picked up some of her pacers um, at I think let's see mile 40 or so, and then at mile 60 Picked up Lauren Duncan as a pacer for Chelsea and Kellen Caldwell as a pacer for me, and just had like, it was a really nice group to be spending time with on the trail. Um, Unfortunately, like Chelsea had a foot pain that came up and that she could not run through and had to DNF at mile 70. But then Kellen and I got back to 80, and that's when Lauren picked me back up because she was supposed to crew or pace Chelsea all the way to the end. So just having like a friend to be with that whole time, who wasn't tired and cranky and had already done all those miles, just made it like so much easier, so much more enjoyable. They got to see like the sassiest sides of me. Sorry to anybody listening who I might have like made a really bad joke to on the trail, but my filter was a little bit diminished at that point.
Yeah, it's fair. But like three same.
No. I think you cut out again.
My bad. Sorry, it's being awful.
Oh yeah, no, I can hear you right now. But yeah, you cut out when you started talking.
Okay, cool. How does it feel to get? Okay, so how does it feel to get redemption at Badger this year?
Um, yeah, good. We were actually discussing whether or not redemption, like, I guess there's some people who are kind of like, um, feel different ways about the word redemption. And I didn't really think I wasn't thinking of it as redemption, more just like, I kind of like finishing it. Like I started it, now I need to finish it. And like, happy to not have to go back at the Badger Trail. Um, I've seen enough of it. Do
While
we
we're
lose
waiting for
him?
Joe to, yeah, we're waiting for him to get his internet cleared up. So I know like the word redemption sometimes comes across as this idea of I need to make sure I'm successful and I can't live with myself if I don't complete it successfully again. For you, was it more about I just want to do this event and be successful as opposed to overcoming some idea of redemption? Like if I fail again, it's worse this time, or what was the mindset of that going into the second tour with this event with Badger?
Yeah. I think it was just like, I think maybe when I signed up it felt like redemption, like, oh, I need to do that. Like I need to get back there and finish it and like do it this time. Um but most of the time I really like I'm kind of like I'll do races twice anyways sort of person.
Oh, okay.
So like I'm going back and doing the rut a second time. I don't think I like really need to go do the rut more after that. This year's kind of like can I do it a little bit better? Let's find out. If not, then I'll have a good day either way. So for me, like the Badger was more about all like a lot of my friends being there and like a lot of like people in the community that I enjoy being around. And yeah, I just, I don't so I just wanted to be there and like be able to do that. And after doing it, it's like, okay, that's enough. The 50 miles I did was like also on the Badger Trail, back and forth
Okay.
4 miles from Belleville to Dots Bar, and it's like I have seen those trail miles like 150 miles, no, 210 miles worth of those of that trail. I'm like,
We
I'm
don't need to
good.
see it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And like no shame to anybody who's going back and getting their like 500-mile buckle or whatever like that. Like
Yeah.
people got to run the runs that they want to do, and I'm ready to move on to something else.
Before I turn it back over to Joe, I love the idea of doing a race or an event two times. Like you said, I'm going to do it twice anyway, because I did Rocky Raccoon 5 times, and the reason why I did it 5 times was it was easy for me to drive to. I knew the course, I knew everything about it, and it was an easy way, easy in air quotes for those listening, not watching, for me to get a Western States ticket. Like that was my whole goal. It wasn't necessarily anything about the event itself, but because I didn't have to get in a plane, I didn't have to have all kinds of stuff. I could drive there, do the race, and drive home the next day and get my Western States ticket. But the mindset of doing an event 2 times, like you said earlier, why is that? Is it because you think you might experience it differently the second time? Like, I'm really interested in unpacking that a little bit, like the why behind 2x on a race.
Yeah, I guess if you fail the first time, then it's like, well, let's make sure I can do it. This race is not better than me. And then I guess if you already done it once, then it's like, well, can I do better? Or let's make sure the first time wasn't a fluke. And like I don't go to every race twice. It's I've already said, like, would I do the dome again? Yeah, I'd probably do the dome again, but I would go into it with like a different goal in mind. Like either try to win it for the 48 hour or like go and do 6 days in the dome and treat it like, okay, what does it feel like to be a transcon runner? And like, I'm going to only run 100K a day. And then I'm going to go to a hotel and I'm going to have a good sleep and a good meal. And then I come back and I'm going to do another 100K. So like, I think that's what more intrigues me, doing things like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's I guess sometimes I also just get bored with events.
It's just really interesting to think about. Like, are most of the events that you're doing, if you're going to go twice, close to home, or these? And then the other part of this question that I was thinking about is, if you do an event one time, are you immediately doing it again the second time the following year, or is it something that you'll go back to years later?
Yeah. Well, close to home is not really like, that's a pretty nebulous thing for me. I'm based out of Tucson, Arizona, and then spend like half of my year traveling around the states.
Okay.
So like my family's based out of Chicagoland. So then a lot of these like Midwest run events or cycling events, like that's kind of what keeps bringing me back here. But like, if I didn't have to come back here for it, then I'd pick something else. And like, that's kind of where like the rut in Montana, it's like Montana is actually also kind of like, it's great to go there. I love Montana. It's like, a third home to me in a way. But I don't want to keep having to like schedule my year around going to Montana in September. And it's like, kind of like I said at the start, like I don't like obligations. So I don't want to like be obligated to like some like migratory thing. It's like, I keep saying, I really want to go to Maine again, but I never go to Maine because I always go to the Rockies. So I just need to like take a year. I'm like, okay, no more Rockies, like go to Maine, go to New Hampshire, go to Vermont, like, go somewhere else.
I love it. I'll turn this back over to Joe. I think he's got his internet all squared away now. Maybe not.
Maybe not. God.
By the way, so Ory, I was just in Chicago, and I'm based out of LA, so I'm 2 hours behind, and I feel like Joe's internet is in Chicago, and we're here in LA because he seems to have such a delay on his internet. You mentioned Vermont. I was just out at Vermont 100 pacing out there. Have you done that race? Is that an event that you would consider doing?
I hadn't ever considered it. I didn't really know about it, but then I just heard an interview of Amy Rusiecki, and I have to say, like, hands down, probably the race director I've been the most impressed with, as far as like diversity and inclusion and like, making like paving the way, I think, for adaptive athletes in a race. So I mean, that I want to do Vermont 100 now. I feel like a lot of people feel the same way after hearing about what she's doing there. But it looks like a hard course.
I don't know you from anybody else. I've met you at this point 30 minutes ago. and you leading in with the inclusion concept of Vermont 100. I can tell you, I just interviewed the adaptive athlete who won and set the course record. Allison Roy is her name, and he said that Amy is a fantastic race director, super involved in the race, of course, but involved in the athletes, making sure inclusion is at the top of the list. Like I can't speak highly enough about that event in terms of its organization, in terms of its inclusion, and if you've got pacers and crew, it is perfect for pacers and crew. Like I've been to Western States, and that's a pain in the ass to get around. Been at other events, it's a pain in the ass to get around. Like Vermont 100 for pacer and crew, everything is in like a 20 to 30-minute drive on the same roads.
Okay.
So you're not, it's amazing. So I couldn't recommend it enough. Honestly, if that's an event that you're considering and that's the thing that gets you out to Maine and Vermont and New Hampshire, then let that be the one to do. I think you would enjoy it. The only downside is they start the race at 4 a.m., which is so early. When the alarm goes off at 2:30 in the morning, and you're like, "Where am I? And why are we heading to a race right now?"
I mean, honestly, I barely got to bed by that time. Yeah, for the Badgers. So. Yeah. So maybe that's fine, but it's like 17,000 feet a gain or something. Is that right?
Yeah, and it's not technical. There's not a real area of technical terrain, at least on the 20 miles I paced on. A lot of Jeep road, dirt road, because it's all on private farmland, which is also super cool, right? Like you're running through these private farms all throughout the Vermont landscape. There are horses that are racing with you as well. Because there is a horse 100 race going on at the same time.
Okay.
It's just unique in that way. It's really cool, and it gives you the old New England feel. Covered bridges in certain areas, like it's like what's his name? Not Rockefeller, the painter. I can't remember his name, but it just feels like it's a painting out of one of his. One of his
Norman Rockwell.
Deals. Norman Rockwell. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So how did you find yourself getting involved in these distances and these races where people will say all the time, "Oh, I don't like to drive that far," and here we are running for days on end, running 100-milers. Like, what was the thing that you were like, "This is a thing for me. I like this. This is a cool idea."
Oh, I think it was. Well, I just had limited exposure to it, and kind of I think I probably started listening to some podcasts where they were talking about ultras, and then finished the Chicago. I think it was like finishing the Chicago Marathon and doing very well for what I wanted to do, and then turning around and doing 50 miles 6 days later was kind of this okay, well, I don't actually really like the marathon distance. It's it feels like a distance where you feel like you should go fast, but it's far enough that it hurts.
Yes.
And I was like, well, I can just go farther and slower. That'll be great. And I think just being able to push myself into something a little bit new territory. I like exploring new territory. So even just I did a trail marathon this year, and it was the first time doing that. And yeah, totally different, kicked my ass, totally different than Chicago Marathon or the other 3 that I've done, or 4, I guess at this point. And even, I did the New York City Marathon last year, and it's okay, well, I've done this before, so it's really not that exciting to just run a marathon. What can I do to make it interesting? Okay, well, I'm running for Parkinson's Foundation because my dad has Parkinson's, and it would be a fitting tribute to him. He's still alive, to run a mile in his shoes, proverbially. It just happens that instead of 1 mile is going to be 26 miles, and instead of running shoes, his shoe of choice was Adidas Sambas, which are pancake flat, indoor soccer shoes.
I wear them all the time.
Yeah. Not running shoes. And these are like his pre-worn shoes. Like he wore these for probably a decade. There's nothing in them. Forgive. So I went and I did I might be one of the few people who's done a marathon in Adidas Samas, and I don't recommend it. I'm not gonna like encourage anybody else to do the same. About 5K in, my feet hurt. About 10K in, I told my partner, I think if I took off my shoes right now, my feet would just be made out of ground beef. Like that's how it feels. And I still had 20 miles left, so yeah. It was a rough.
Could you think of anything that would be worse to run in? I mean, would running barefoot be better than running in sandals then?
So as I'm finishing, there's a guy like right next to me finishing barefoot, and I'm like, okay, guy, like that's you don't need to one up me here. But in my defense, he probably runs barefoot all the time,
Right.
and like I maybe train like 5 miles in sambas. So yeah.
I raced Bandera 100K a number of years ago, and the year I did it, it was like sleeting and ice, and I saw a guy in sandals running, and I mean it was cold out, it was sleeting, it was ice, and I just thought to myself, guy, I get it, like this is your shoe preference of choice, but it's so bad out here. Just put on a pair of running shoes. You would have to be happier in my mind, you know?
Yeah. Oh, it's a commitment to the bit.
Selling it hard.
If my partner had found me on course at the New York City Marathon, which she was trying to do, she's gonna buy me some like squishy, like the ones you buy in like Chinatown, like recovery slippers from a store there. And I was like, honestly, if you had those, I probably would have finished like a half marathon in those. Like I was struggling. Yeah.
I love it. As you were saying that, I just was in my mind, I was envisioning like Ronald McDonald clown shoes and trying to run in those.
Yeah, that's up there.
Do you have a list of events that, because we talked about going to Maine and Vermont and getting to different places, you've been to Montana, living in Tucson, Chicagoland, like do you have a list of events that you're like, I would love to get to these at some point in my running journey?
Yeah, it's been like my recent kind of plan has been I'm volunteering at Leadville this next week or in 2 weeks, in the hopes to get enough volunteering credits that I could get like the automatic entry into next year's Leadville, and then because that would like basically be my sole focus for next year, because that's a high cutoff rate, not DNF rate, a high cutoff rate. And then, from there, maybe I was Cocodona curious, but I'm not sure where I'm at on that after talking to some people who've done Cocodona. Yeah, it looks like a struggle. So
it's not as bad. Look, I did it the inaugural year, which, as anybody will tell you, was probably the worst year that they had, because one, nobody knew what to expect at that event, and it was brutally hot that year. And I've said I would not go back to do Cocodona, and it's not because of the race itself. It's because there are so many other events out there that I'd love to experience. But I'll tell you, Ory, like I went into that event, and I had this, I'm going to do it in 3 days. Well, 3 days became 5 days after the first 5 hours, because it was so rough climbing up Lane Mountain. But I wound up running basically 50 to 60 miles a day. And just and enjoyed myself doing it, and still finished in 4.5 hours. And I would say this: it is transcendent. For me, it was transcendent.
Yeah,
I was going through some life complications, getting divorced, and everything else. And so being out, in the desert, the parable, the man in the desert just wandering around. That's kind of like what it felt like, and trying to figure out where you are in life.
Yeah.
But there are so many other 200s out there as well that I know, and they keep popping up. It seems like that. I would think they would take you on that same adventure. I don't know if you've been curious about Tahoe 200, but I paced and crewed at that last year, and that's an immaculate um, experience because of the view of Tahoe, Lake Tahoe the whole time
Mhm.
you're circumnavigating it. Basically, I would put that on the list. I paced and crewed at Moab 240 last year as well, and that was an amazing experience too. There's so many events. Like I don't like. Do you have a criteria for how you pick and choose the events you want to participate in?
Not like, I mean, sometimes I try to figure out, what, yeah, like I try to look for ones that have a good community, or at least like, somewhere that will feel safe as like a queer non-binary person to be. So that's certainly a factor, but the truth is, like, if I only ran races where I, could run completely as myself, then I would be very limited. Aravaipa is like they have a great policy, but they're kind of also, hit or miss as to whether or not they really have a non-binary category. It's like sometimes they kind of do, sometimes they do, and sometimes they kind of don't. And that's, Aravaipa is, I think, a great group. Otherwise, but yeah, I think that's kind of tricky. So I might factor that in a little bit more, mainly just as far as like, if I can go support like Vermont 100 as like a more welcoming community, then I'd rather do that, rather put my money there, and like celebrate that. And then otherwise, yeah, just looking for things that look, I mean, yeah, truthfully, like, it's just where I want to go. Like, Macedon 100's another one, because I have a buddy who lives, like, my best friend lives in Harrisonburg, so it's like right there near at the end of Macedon. So, but otherwise it's just kind of whatever tickles my fancy at the time.
Do you prefer climbing, or would you prefer a flat and a quote fast course?
This year, I mean, next year I want to focus more on climbing. The flat stuff, like, unless it's something like the Dome, which is to me a different type of challenge. But
Yeah,
I'd like to, get more into the mountains, and that's like in Tucson. That's what I love, going into the mountains there. Lived in Colorado for a bit, so I'd rather be there, because if I have to go slow, I'd rather go slow somewhere pretty. And
right.
I no shade on my like badger loving folks, but like, I've seen enough deciduous trees and cornfields. I just I rode my bike across Iowa for another week this year, and I've seen enough cornfields. Like, they're not that pretty to me at this point.
So you've done is it Ragbri that you did then?
Ragbri, yeah.
Yeah.
This is my 5th year doing it.
That's amazing. I mean, I say this all the time. I am a runner by talent, but I'm a cyclist by heart. Like, I love riding my bike. I just love getting out there and riding my bike. I'm a quasi-retired Ironman athlete. I've done 8 of them, and I don't know that I'll do it again just because of time. But you clearly love cycling if you're going to ride across Iowa 5 different times. Do you have a preference? If somebody was to put your hand to the fire and say you have to pick one over the other, do you have one?
That's like, it's not really a choice at all. It's like, I cycled for Ragbri, and then just like wouldn't touch my bike the rest of the year. And like, to call Ragbri a cycling event is like, yes, there's a lot of cycling involved, and you can cycle, like, you can go hard, but like, you're mostly partying. Like, you're mostly stopping and eating and like having a good time and making friends, that sort of thing. The cycling is like pretty, I mean, some people get really into the cycling part, and they like to like poo-poo each other's whatever. And a lot of people this year, like, negativity towards e-bikes and stuff. And it's like, hey, like, you don't know what other people are doing. You don't know what their abilities are. So if it's like, this person was a lifelong cyclist, and the only way they can get out and do Ragbri now for health reasons is on an e-bike, then let them enjoy the party. Because it's like, it's a cycling event. It's not a cycling race. Like, And so you're not competing with anybody out there. If you're competing with someone out there, then you're losing, because like there's the only way to win Ragbri is to like be in Ragbri, and the way to lose Ragbri is try to win Ragbri. Like the people who are out there trying to like beat everybody, like guess what? They're not going to have any friends at the end of the day. Like they're going to get to their campsite first and sit there and wait.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We've mentioned inclusion a number of times already, and with riding e-bikes is another form of inclusion. And I ask myself this all the time, and I wonder if you ask yourself this question too. Why does John Smith or Gene Smith care about what I'm doing if I'm on an e-bike or whatever the hell it is that they're railing against? Like, do you ask yourself that question often as well?
I just try to shut those people out. Sometimes I guess I snip back at them in certain situations, but like, yeah, just I think there's just way too much. I mean, if I put myself in their shoes, I totally understand the perspective of like, that was a really hard hill and that really kicked my ass and I'm really huffing and puffing, and the person just passed me on an e-bike going uphill. Like their struggle, like our struggle is not the same. But
Right.
like you're not competing as far as who's struggling more. Like you're not like, you're out there riding your own bike, and like I'm not, like for these people that do that, it's like, yeah, but like maybe you have a 10 grand bike and I have like a $2,000 bike, and this kid over here has like $100 bike. Like we're not
Yeah.
on level playing fields. Like we don't need to be comparing ourselves at all in this situation. Like if you want to go race and like try and podium, but like we're just out here having fun.
Yeah, and the person who's huffing and puffing when you get to the top of the hill, your accomplishment is not diminished by the person who got to the top of the hill either after you, before you, alongside you. Like you both
Yeah.
accomplished something that's difficult, and you should relish in that and celebrate that, as opposed to
Yeah.
looking over your shoulder and being like, "Well, you did it, easier," or whatever that means, because you
Yeah.
used an e-bike or anything else. Like, um, you've mentioned, being queer non-binary, and I just interviewed an athlete who is non-binary, and her pronouns are she, they, and we got into the discussion about race directors, including a non-binary category, and what is that like? Like, what does it mean when you go to a race registration site and the drop down has non-binary as a category? And I want to ask you that question. Like, when you see that, does that, I don't know how to phrase this. Does it give you a sense of this race director and this race community is accepting of my choices, and I want to support them?
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of a range because Ultra Sign Up now, like by default, has just sort of a, like, we will allow you to register as male, female, non-binary, gender, and then we're going to force you into 2 divisions because we don't want to support 3 divisions or more on Ultra Sign Up. That's kind of an ongoing thing, I feel like. So if someone doesn't have the sign up option, then that's kind of like, oh, they unchecked a box. They took a default away, which I think
Right.
sucks. And I'm definitely going to not support that in the future. I think there's a wide range between like, we will allow you to register as who you are versus like, we have a trans and non-binary policy versus we have trans non-binary, or we have non-binary, top 3 awards or something like that. So, like something like the Rut, they have top male, top female who get money. Then they have, gendered age division. So like males 30 to 40 or whatever, they get their podium. I don't know what all of them are. And then there's just an overall non-binary podium as well. No money. And it's kind of like, well, the time difference between the top men and the top women and the top non-binary people is like, double or something like that. Like we're not competing in the for the same time. And so for us to just get like a plaque that's like, hey, like you still podiumed, that's like feels amazing. And I think it's such a little thing that races can do, and doesn't need to be this like huge ordeal when you think about like the awards. All they say are the rut first place, the rut second place. Guess who can get those first place trophies? Anyone. Like
Right.
you could give it to like top child. You could, like
Right.
those don't have a gender, they don't have a year, they don't have anything like that. So it's a pretty minimal thing to then just be able to do that. And goes a lot it goes a lot further to then invite those people into the community. Last year at the rut, there were 4 of us that ran the rut, which like I run for myself, but like if there's only 4 of us out there and there's 3 podium spots, like I'm definitely going to try to compete. And
Right.
ultimately there's like 3 of us finished. I finished 3rd and the 4th person DNF'd. This year there's like 7 or 8 non-binary folks showing up. Like that's a competition. Like if people are going for first, second, or third, like 8 people, you have a race for sure. And none of us are going to be upset if we don't podium either. We're going to be like, hell yeah, we have a podium. So I to me, I think there's a lot of people who are making such a big deal out of it, and at the same time, we have huge call them corporate events like the Bank of America Chicago Marathon or the whatever, all the world major marathons have a non-binary category at this point, I think, with the exception of maybe Tokyo, but maybe that's changed. So like if they can handle it, then like a local race director can handle it. And it doesn't need to be that big of a deal.
Yeah, and I don't pretend to be a race director. Joe would be able to answer this better than I could. But the way I envision this is it's probably a spreadsheet, right? It probably says M for male, F for female, and maybe N for non-binary, right? Like when somebody registers for an event, and now you just have categories that are separated by a spreadsheet. So I have a hard time understanding why it's so hard for a race director to accept an athlete who registers as a non-binary athlete and to create awards. We own RTB awards. Joe and I own RTB awards. We don't have to do something different to create a non-binary award, right? It's not like there's an extra expense for a non-binary award. So as a race director, if you're ordering awards, you're just, it's the same order to your point earlier, which was rut first place, rut second place. I have a hard time processing the reality that not all races have gone to the fact that they are accepting of non-binary athletes. And it has become sort of like the thing that I want to keep asking non-binary athletes about, race directors about, because I want the conversation to happen. And so I will open the floor to you to let a race director know, if they're listening, why it's important to have a non-binary division in your mind, and what they can do to make it inclusive and welcoming for non-binary athletes.
Yeah. And I will celebrate Joe in this regard, because for his race this fall, I forget, how the conversation started, but it was just like, do you have a policy? Or he shared with me a policy, and it maybe took him like 10, 15 minutes to come up with an inclusive policy. It's like, it's not difficult. It's like, if you're trans, like register as the gender you are aligned with. If you're non-binary, here's your category. I'm not gonna try and pull down your shorts and prove that you're one way or another. Like, I mean, Joe's policy doesn't say it that way, to be clear, but it's the we trust you. Like you're here to run as you are. You're here to be a part of the community. And I think that when you have a non-binary category and you don't force someone to pick a binary, then it's just kind of, it's just like affirming that you don't have to, I don't know, how am I trying to say this? I think when you go through the world and you're trying to be authentic and like live as true to yourself, to then have to like something you're paying money to do that because you love doing it, that now you have to like opt into a gender that doesn't align with how you feel, all for the sake of competing with quote like equivalent athletes in a world where like majority of athletes are not actually trying to compete with the other people out there. It's just kind of like, what is the harm that I was the number one and only 48 hour at the dome winner, right? I didn't
Right.
get anything for it. That's fine. Like, I'm not upset about that. But like, I got to register as I am, and
Yeah.
it shows up on the thing, and I don't have to look at like that M next to my name every time I go around the track. And I think it's just like, it's just a little thing that allows people to then just not have that extra thing to worry about, like not have that extra like thing hanging over their head. And it doesn't fix everything, right? It doesn't fix that. Like, we're not going around and like doing a pronoun and gender circle ahead of the race so that, as you pass someone, that you're not saying like, oh, nice job, man, or like, hey, good job, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And like, that's fine. I live with that all the time. I actually had someone misgender me. Came up behind and was like, nice job, ladies, at the Badger. And then she's like, oh, actually, gentlemen. I was like, I'll take it. Like, if you looked at my hair and you looked at my ass and you said, nice job, lady, like, hell yeah, like, I'll take that. So, yeah, it's just, and I don't know. I feel like people get caught up on the competition aspect of it. And the truth is, like, when it actually comes to non-binary athletes who are competing, they're the ones who are being forced to check a box in a binary category. Like Riley at Western States, they didn't have the option to run as a non-binary person and try to win an award. So what do? They choose female because that's the only way that they can podium, right? I think that's shitty. Like, but that's what Western States is going to do. And I get that, like, certain races, that's just, people are going to buy into it because that's what they have to do. But ultimately, like, if we could adjust that, I think it'd be just better overall. Especially, we're running distances where like gender doesn't matter. It
Right.
really doesn't. Like, if you're running 100 miles, like, gender doesn't matter that much.
I believe that if people would have conversations like you and I are having right now, like I just had with Elizabeth, like I've had with Michael Bridges, who goes by Mike Runs Marathons on Instagram, and Reds. I've talked to Ali Gregory at Cuss Running. I've talked to Rachel McBride. There you go. Perfect. Yes.
I'm on the Cuss Running team. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. That's perfect. I learn something every time I talk to an athlete from the queer community. It teaches me something. It makes me cognizant, not just of the queer community. And I think this is an important thing that I believe a lot of people don't get. I also learn a lot about the non-queer community. I understand how to respect other people's cultures and and if it's not culture, it might be body type and what you're saying about body type and just life in general. And I just wish more people would have these kinds of conversations so that we could learn from each other, right? And to go through life willfully ignorant, and I will emphasize, I will say that very loud, willfully ignorant of other people is no way to live. It really isn't. Have a conversation and learn from people. I mean, Joe's from Indiana, right? I'm a Puerto Rican kid from the Bronx. On the surface, we should have nothing in common. We would probably never talk to each other, but thankfully, the internet allows us to talk to each other. So let's use the power of the internet to talk to each other. I apologize, I'm on a soapbox, but I get so angry about this. It's one of the reasons why our logo, I don't know if you've been to our website or our social media, we have a pride flag there. And we have it there for the last 3 years, because I was doing the American corporate thing. Put it up there for June. Come July 1st, I was getting ready to take it down 3 years ago. And I don't know, Ory, what it was, but it was like getting punched in the face. And I was like, wait a minute, Jason, they don't stop being queer on July 1st the same way you don't stop being Puerto Rican at the end of Hispanic Heritage Month. And so I've left it up there. And since I've left it up there, more and more athletes have come to me and said, I was willing to talk to you because I saw your logo on your website and your social media, and the pride flag told me that you were going to support me and accept me as who I am. And that means everything to me. Even non-queer athletes were like, I knew this was a supportive space, because if you've got that up there and you're telling the world we support the queer community, then I'm willing to talk to you. And so I'm happy that you were able to express your feelings about inclusion of non-binary athletes in these sports and these events, because I think it's important for race directors to hear from athletes who are in the queer community about what it means to them. And it's just good business if you ask me, right? Like if you really want to help registrations increase, put a non-binary category. You just said you basically vote with your dollars. If it's not there and doesn't feel supportive, you move on, correct?
Yeah. And I have friends who are way more adamant about that than I am. And but that's sort of where I'm starting to lean as the years go on, just because like I've had a lot of frustrations in this last year at how certain race directors just would rather sit on the fence and sort of like talk about it like it's a huge issue rather than to actively be a part of a solution that's best for everyone. And Amy from Vermont 100, hearing her interviewed, she's just like, hey, like, you know how easy it is? Go to my website, copy and paste it on your website. If you look at her policy, you look at Aravipa's policy, someone copy and pasted from someone because those are very similar. And that's not a problem, right? We don't need to be reinventing the wheel as we do this. And yeah, like you said, I think also just going out and like being open-minded, especially on these 100-milers. Like one of the most wonderful things to happen was at the Dome, was chatting with basically the main guy that I was competing with at the time there. And we were chatting about all sorts of other things. And then out of nowhere, he's just like, yeah, and actually I'd like to hear about your experiences like registering as a non-binary athlete. I didn't tell him that about myself. He just like saw it, looked into it. He was curious. He's a, like traditionally religious guy from Virginia who's had his own like religious understanding journey. So comes from like what you would think on paper is a very judgmental and like set in their way sort of mentality. But no, he's done the work for himself of like trying to figure out how his religion relates to himself. And then he's open to like find out about like what makes other people tick, like how do they feel about things, and ask ask the hard questions, like say, hey, can I ask you about what it's like to be Puerto Rican? And like that's the only way that I get to learn what it's like to be Puerto Rican. Right. I can go like try and look in a dictionary or a book or something and try to read about it, but that's not going to tell you about people's like lived experiences and like really make those bridges that connect our experiences across like gender, ethnicity, race, sexuality, ability, anything like that.
Yeah, I think when we're capable of recognizing another human being, it changes everything about the connection between the two people. And I honestly don't think it's that difficult. And maybe it's because I am Puerto Rican and I've been on the smaller end of the stick more often than not, that I can say this. But Joe is a white male, right? And I've had conversations with him, and he recognizes me as a Hispanic Puerto Rican. He recognizes you as queer non-binary. Like, it's really not that hard to do if you just take the time to your point earlier, ask the hard question. I think that's the key to it all. My goodness, sorry, I could go on and on and on. and have you on like a 4-hour podcast about this, in all honesty. But I want to be cognizant of your time. And so I know Joe usually wraps up his episodes with a question about music, because he and I co-host a show called What's in Your Earbuds. So the question for you is, what's a song that's on repeat constantly for you right now?
I'd say probably what I've been going back to the most is the new Bon Iver album, Sable Fable. It's just one, it has a lot of just like nice summer vibes to it, but also a lot of it's about like the sort of, it's like an EP followed by a full length. Like that's how the album's spaced. There's like 4 songs and then the rest of the album. And the first 4 songs are all about kind of like embracing change and like accepting it and like understanding that the only thing that stays the same is that things are changing. And to just like lean into that. And then the rest is just about like, you know, joy and like contentedness. So that's been my summer jam this year.
Love it. And then, because I prefer movies over music, the last question for you is, your favorite movie is?
Oh gosh, favorite movie. I don't know. I usually just, I guess it's got to be either like Jurassic Park or A New Hope. I guess those are the movies I've seen the most. But I don't know. I don't know about favorites.
Awesome. Ory, thank you so much for joining us. Apologize for you having to talk to me for this podcast episode instead of Joe, but we'll get his internet figured out. We'll get you back on another episode.
Yeah, Joe, I'll have to come back on, and I know you want to know about ice climbing. We'll get you out there.
Have a great one, Ory. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
For those of you who stuck through the first half of this show, thank you so much. Joe had some internet issues, and hopefully you stuck around long enough to hear Ory and I chat a little bit about his favorite events, the events that he's done, as well as what it's like to be a non-binary athlete in the endurance sports world today, and how we can make inclusion more acceptable in our sports. Appreciate you. Come back in 2 weeks for the next episode of Beyond the Finish Line on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network.